Don't be stressing on the dumb shit, 'cause God is gonna make a way. Just keep going and keep your faith, so you can win this race. This race called life, yeah, yeah. This race called life. This race called life, yeah, yeah. Race called life. Yeah, 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 yeah. I'm grinding 'cause I know that I'm gon' get it. I just gotta have vision, keep faith and be humble. Have some patience with it. I've been A1 since day one, and always on my job. I never been a fake, never had to steal and rob, 'cause I do good business. I'm too good with it, and even though I'm on this road, I'm still daddy to my children. You know I do good with them, and don't like being missing, but I hate when my bills are thicker and my pockets get thinner. But I can't stress up on the dumb shit, 'cause God is gonna make a way. I keep going and keep my faith in my face, so I can win this race. Win this race called life. This race called life. I'm just trying to win this race called life. This race called life. This race called life, yeah. Race called life. I'm just trying to win this race called life, yeah, yeah, yeah. I keep on running in this race called life, yeah, yeah, yeah. I won't come in last place in life, no. 'Cause I'm just trying to win this race called life. This race called life. Girl, I just gotta win this race called life. This race called life. Just gotta win this race called life.
Let's go, let's go, let's go. The Conspiracy Corner, Magic, Bloodlines, and the Bible. This is episode 1. Right now, we got the host with the most, your boy A1. You already know who I am. And I want to give a special shout out and introduction to everybody who knows me. I want you to meet my homie, my Christian friend here, Cannon.
Whoa, what's going on, everybody?
How you feeling today? How you feeling today?
Man, I can't complain. God is good, bro.
Let's go all the time. That's what they say, right?
Yeah, you already know, man.
All the time, all the time. I might have a debate coming up about that topic, but you know, that's not what this show's about today. You had some dope information that you was running past me, and I just felt like this shit had to come to the people as soon as possible. And as you see the title right here for the people, you know, for everybody watching, you know, Cannon came up with this one right here. I heard it. I'm like, this is fire right here. I got to be a part of this. I appreciate you letting me host this one right here. Magic, Bloodlines, in the Bible. Go ahead, tell us a little bit about what we're about to get into.
So, you know, we was talking offline or whatever the case may be. We got to chopping it up. And just over the last couple of days in the back chat, it had been a lot of, you know, things going on where everybody was, you know, there was a debate that happened, and they were talking about like Aleister Crowley and Magic with a C, and then Magic with a K, what the differences was. Mm-hmm. And so when you and I talked, I guess previous to that, it kind of led into our conversation. And I told you, well, as a Christian, a little bit about my beliefs is I believe in something called the divine council. So, yeah, I believe Jesus Christ died on the cross, rose again for, you know, for my sins on the third day, and whoever so believe in him shall not perish but have everlasting life. But we don't, and that's important. But a lot of times, just from the biblical narrative, a lot of people don't really discuss some of the more fringe or nuanced stuff. And I said, when I read the Bible, there's some things, some questions in there that, you know, I ran into that a lot of pastors don't typically address. And when I first got saved, you know, you start reading the Bible, you all excited. I started going to a church, and I went to Genesis 6, and I'm like, what the heck is a Nephilim? Nephilim. I was like, what the heck is that? So I went to the church that Sunday. I'm like, look, I've been reading my Bible. I came across this word, and I don't know what this means. And he didn't give me an answer. He was like, just keep coming to the church. Yeah, we're gonna get to that. A couple of weeks came, no sermons on it, no nothing. I was confused. Like, what's the word? And so most of us who've had experiences have run into people, and whether they be good intentioned or well intentioned, they often don't really give you that information that you desire, because it's not a part of, I guess, their courses, it's not a part of their theology, or they just don't really get into it because maybe they just don't know themselves. They don't want to lose you as a member or a friend or a person that they doing these conversations with, but they're not going to touch it because they don't want you to get confused, or they just don't have a handle on the text. And so, you know, because you already have alternative views. Is that a fair statement? I don't want to put you in a box or anything, but because you have
if you were to put me in a box, or what box do you see other people putting me in? Could you tell me? Because it's hard to see from the outside looking in. I just want to see.
So just from a little bit of time that I've gotten to know you and just listen to you and your previous debates, and then our back chat banters with, you know, shout outs to Paradigm Shift 314. If you in the chat, you know what I'm talking about. A1 the sauce. When you back there, I remember that was a time when they didn't know if you was an atheist or what you believe. And so everybody kept saying, he's saying he an atheist. Now, in our personal conversations, I would just say that you're a skeptic and you question a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? I don't personally, I wouldn't call you an atheist for obvious reasons, but you know, what you have shared with me offline and what you share on the internet may not be your full personal overview. Because I mean, I get it. When you under scrutiny for what you believe, it's really hard to really divulge everything. But I wouldn't call you an atheist or agnostic.
And I'm definitely not an atheist. I just don't have explanations for things. And not to say that it's God, but the skeptic's position isn't to say God doesn't exist. It's just to say that we haven't been presented sufficient enough evidence to say that he does. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
You know, there's still a possibility, of course. And I'm open to that. And that's why I still read and study and research as much as I do. And I'm always all ears. My ears are always open to anybody of any faith who wants to come talk about these topics, whether it be to enlighten me, bring me up to speed on something, or even to try to convert me. As long as we can do it intellectually, civilly, you know, have a civil conversation, and I'm all ears, and I'm always open for that. So hit my line anytime you want to come on this show and have a talk with me about anything, you know. I'm not disingenuous in my approach to this stuff. So when I'm wrong, you know, I can concede, you know. So
that's respect. And so when we were talking, we got into when I said divine counsel, you was like, what's that? And I'm like, you never heard of that? And so of course I started at Genesis 6. I'm gonna get my charger because my phone actually died. I didn't pay attention to that at all. That's an oversight.
Take your time.
So but I'll keep talking. If you can still hear me, right?
Definitely can.
Yeah, so I was saying I give you my Genesis 6 breakdown about what the 1A, what the Nephilim are. B, I'll go to some other scriptures and I'll just give you a little bit of information about some other things in that particular paradigm, because again, I very seldom hear people have these discussions. I very seldom hear people talk about these things, and when they do talk about it, they either don't agree with it because they never heard it, or it's just not conducive for the conversation at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would just caution everybody to study for yourself. Like I said, I'm a Christian. For me, one of my favorite texts is study to show thyself approved unto God, a workman needeth not be ashamed, but rightly dividing the word of truth. And the other part of that is to shun profane and vain babbling, for it increases in the more ungodliness. And so the more people don't know what they talk about and they just saying stuff, they talking out the side of their neck. And to me, you and I have been in the back chat. You know how I go. People get to saying stuff that's unfounded. There's no reason for them to say it. There's no definitions on it. There's
All the time.
no source work. Like even if you're wrong and I disagree, at least let me see how you came to that conclusion. There's no math work. They just woke up one morning, smoked the blunt, and just said, "I'm gonna say this on the internet." And I feel like that's a little disingenuous, and then a lot. I feel like that's lying. Like if you didn't get it from nowhere, just say this is a hypothesis. Say that this is a theory that you came up with. Don't say that you can prove it when you can't. You know what I mean?
What people need to lead with. What about this theory? Or this is a theory I like.
Or have you ever ask fact finding questions? Have you ever thought about this? And so I didn't come to you saying, look, you not believing what I believe, you going to hell, blah, blah, blah. You don't know what you're talking about, my boy. It's not, for me, that's not what it's about. It's about sharing some information that I came up on that makes sense to me. So that's how we came up on this topic. There was conversations about the Bible. There was conversations about different bloodlines and what that meant. And I can start whenever you want talking about the topic.
Let's go. Let's get right into it, man. The people waiting, man. They waiting to see what we got.
All right. Say less. I also forgot to bring up one more. I want to bring up the book of Genesis real quick.
Take your time, man. Don't rush. They waited this long. You know what I'm saying? We definitely here now. I am going to get a word from our sponsors ready.
Yeah, do that.
DMG, if you in the chat, if you can shoot me any advertisements or anything that you do have, future reference. And then, anytime you do make something, just drop it in my email or my messenger, because I am going to be going live regularly. And I would love to keep everything that you have in your loop in my loop.
All right. So I'm going to Genesis chapter 3, verse 15.
You want to share the screen?
I can, if you want.
Yes, I will. I want everybody to be able to read along at home. Some people may be at their desk at work. They may not readily have a Bible right there. And again, everybody, this information is to be taken with a grain of salt. Don't believe anything we say. This is for you to take and do your own research. We're just putting this stuff out there because it's already out there. The more you know. I love that Reading Rainbow saying.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I share my screen whenever you get an opportunity to pull it up.
Right here. Let's go. Let's get it.
All right. So I'm going to start with Genesis 3. Basically, this talk, and I'll just point out a few different little factual things about the text as we go. As you know, I like the Blue Letter Bible. That's just going to be my go-to, simply because it has all the tools and all the functions that we need to be honest with the information.
Yeah, the Blue Letter Bible is an amazing tool for everybody out there. If you want to quick search any word in the Bible, it'll show you everywhere in the Bible that word is used. It has references for you to bring up the translations if you want to go into the Hebrew and much more.
Yep. Hebrew, Greek, and the Aramaic whenever it's necessary. All right, so check this out. This is Genesis 3. This is just like the precursor to what we get into. I'm not going to read every verse, but I want to at least give you the heading. This is about the fall of man. So this is discussing Adam and Eve in the garden and when the serpent shows up. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I'm reading in the KJV, not because it's my favorite version or anything like that. And I know people are not fans of King James, but just because it's easier to pull up the different actual language that goes along with it. So I'm just going to use it just to make it simple. Now the Bible reads, now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made, and said unto the woman, yeah, have God said, yes, ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden. And the woman said unto the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden. We're going blah, blah, blah. Y'all know this part. They get caught up, right? I want y'all know that part. Is it fair for me to just scroll down just a little bit without read Genesis chapter 3 on your own time, but you know what this is about. They get jammed up. God is upset with them because they disobeyed. This is like the first sin, the fall of man. This is where everything begins to happen at, right? Now, God says to the woman and the Lord, verse 13, because they confessed to eating from the tree, that he blamed his wife, right? Verse 13, and the Lord God said unto the woman, what is it that thou hast done? And the woman said, the serpent beguiled me, and I did eat. Verse 14, and the Lord God said unto the serpent, because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle and above every beast of the field. Upon thy belly shalt thou go, and thus shalt thou eat all the days of thy life. And I will put, here's the verse 3 and 15. And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed, and it shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. Okay, and so this verse is the first area I want to point out. So there is punishments being given out by God, and then it says that there's enmity between the woman and the seed of the serpent, right? So the first thing I always ask is, and you can't just assume everything is 2024 English in America. In my case, Baltimore. I don't necessarily always think the way that an archaic or ancient man would think. So let me look up the words. The first thing I wanted to point out was, what does the word mean for serpent? So I pulled it up. I already knew, but I just wanted to be fast. Nakash. That's the word there.
Strong's H 5175. Nachash. Nachash.
Okay. So in the outline of biblical usages, it means serpent or snake. Serpent, image of serpent, or fleeing serpent. In this particular context, Nakash is a snake from the word serpent, which is interesting because when you look at it, I want to point out where is it at? The parts of speech is a masculine noun, and then etymologically it comes from this word. This is just important. The same exact word. This is just a verb for the same word. All I did was click on a link and move to it. This is a primitive root word, meaning that this is very old. It's a verb. Now, when you scroll down, what does it say? The outline of biblical usage for the serpent in this particular context is to practice divination, divine observe signs, learn by experience, diligently observe, practice, fortune telling, take as an omen, right? So 1 and 2 means to practice divination. Just to make sure, let me ask the Hebrew guy to say the word to see if it's the same one.
Strong's H 5172. Nachash. Nachash.
That's why I love Blue Letter Bible, man.
Yeah, to make sure I'm not on nothing bootleg. I'm not. But look at the definition. It says a primitive root properly to hiss, i.e., whisper, magic. You see it, but we were talking about spellings yesterday. Magic. That's not a K. That's a C. Spell. Generally, indeed, diligently observe. So when you look at how it's used, to practice divination, observe signs. You see that it's all there. Let's go back to the text, and I should be able to land my plane in that particular, and then we can get back to it. I actually did something wrong. I was in, what was that? Genesis 3. I accidentally did something wrong. Let me back up to the word and then get back to Genesis. I'll just type it in up top. Quick navigation, Genesis chapter 3, and keep in mind. So the serpent, So this word right here is the nakash or the nahash, or however they said it, was subtle. We're talking about a creature that we get for snake is subtle. When it gets punished, what did it say in verse? This particular creature is cursed above all cattle, above every beast of the field, and upon thy belly shalt thou go, and thus shalt thou eat all the days of the life. So when I think about snakes, just when we talk about from what was that micro evolution or macro evolution with from an this is just a sidebar. I'm just saying this just to put this out there. When I think about serpents, every type of snake that I know of do drag the ground. You know what I'm saying? Even alligators, they in the same. Serpents are reptiles. All the reptiles that I know, whether they got legs or not, they kind of drag their stomach on the ground. I'm pretty much sure like at least 80 to 90% do. And then when they eat, because most of them can't use their hands in a way where they picking stuff up. If they eat, let's say, an egg or a mouse that's in the dirt, ain't they gonna eat dirt at the same time? So if they dragging on their belly and they eating dust when they eating their food, chances are that's possible. But that's just a sidebar. I'm just saying that maybe the world was more spiritual than physical at this. I can't really explain this. I don't really understand all the details, but that's just something to think about. Like maybe if Adam and Eve was like the only humans at the moment, is it like because they made their decisions is what made it set in stone for us? Is that like everything was being tested on a trial base? Like, you know how you play a new video game, but it's in beta testing? And then once everything is tested out, then this is how it's going to run when it starts. How do we know that that's just not how things moved at the moment? It's just a thought. And so, like I said, I will put enmity between thy seed and the serpent seed. The only other word, which was where we was going, is I just wanted to point out what seed meant. Zera is, and oh, look at the type of the usage. Zera. What does that mean?
Strong's H2233. Zera. Zera.
So seed, sowing, offspring, a seed, number 3, semen, virility or virile. If I'm saying it wrong, I'm from Baltimore. I'm not saying I'm like no super scholar. This is just my own research and me sharing how I got to it. I'm open for correction. If y'all know what y'all saying, please feel free to leave a comment, question or concern in the chat so we can get to it. Offspring, descendants, posterity, children of moral quality. And here's the funny thing. Number 1, a practitioner of righteousness. And that's figuratively. That's what fig means, figuratively. And sowing by time, you know. And so we're looking at, and then it goes into say seed, figuratively, fruit, plant, posterity, as I was saying, child. So are we talking about, so the question is, when we discuss that enmity will perceive, it will be enmity between the seed of the serpent and the seed of the humans, right? Keep that in mind. I'm gonna run to Genesis 6. Can I do that, or did you want to say something, bro?
No, take your time. You cooking right now. You cooking.
All right, I'm gonna just hit the Bible button.
You know, I'm gonna comment at the end with my little questions, but you already made it make sense to me in theory. You know what I'm saying? It's not anything that I can prove, but I see the dots that you're connecting. I don't think you're crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you know, I mean, to me, it's there.
It's other people of the faith that's gonna argue with you about this.
Oh yeah, for sure. And so look at this, verse 6. Here we go. This is further down. I'll skip through some chapters. If you want to do your own research, I went from Genesis 3 to Genesis 6. And so in Genesis 6, it says, and it came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and the daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and they took then wives of all they chose. I don't necessarily have to read in that version. I'll keep it on the screen for y'all, but just so it's a little clearer, I'm just going to open my, my passages in another, like a hard copy. So I can just control that. I'm just going to read through it and I'm going to point out something. Look at Genesis 6. When man began to increase in number on the earth, and the daughters of men, and the daughters were born to them, the sons of God. And then let me go to the sons of God real quick. And I want you to see what that word is there. I'm going to hit tools. What you do is you hit tools, you go to interlinear, and then you go to the sons, Beneha or Ben Elohim.
Elohim.
So we go to that word.
God, plural, Elohim.
Elohim. It say it right there, root word, plural. And then plural of God. H433.
You're gonna have a lot of Christians upset with you, and you a Christian. They're gonna come for your head now. You ready for that?
They're gonna have to argue with the Bible because the question is, what am I teaching? I'm just showing you what I'm seeing. It's for you to make your own inferences. Again, I believe that Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. He died on the cross for my sins and rose again on the third day. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. I'm giving you the gospel. The gospel was plain. John 3:16, for God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten son, and whosoever shall believe in him shall not perish but have everlasting life. I'm not deviating from the gospel one jot or tittle. I'm just simply saying when I look at Genesis, I see things that most people just don't point out. It's here. I'm only going by what the Bible and the lexicon and the translation count reads. I'm just happening to pull it up in King James Version, but I'm going back to the original language. So the manuscripts, if you have a problem with me, you have a problem with what the manuscripts are saying. Maybe my interpretation is off, but again, I'm open for correction. So when I look at this, Elohim, it says plural, but look at the list of the outline of biblical usage, which means that not just in this particular chapter, you can see it in different locations where that you can just see the sources of what it should mean in those particular areas. In this case, B'nai Elohim means the sons of God. Divine ones, number 3, angels. It could mean rulers or judges, but it doesn't mean that the divine angels couldn't be rulers and judges either, just so you know. And so God's in the ordinary sense, but specifically used in plural like this, especially with the article of the supreme God, occasionally applied by way of deference to magistrates, and sometimes as a superlative, angels, exceeding God, goddess, and great judges and mighty. Okay.
Right there in the Hebrew too. That's crazy.
Yeah. I'm not making it up. It's there. You know what I'm saying? And we would be dishonest. See, as a Christian, you can't run from the Bible. The Bible can do the work for itself. If I feel like you're a chump if you gotta like hide behind it. Like most people don't believe, not because they know the material. They don't like the people that's explaining it to them. If you honest and you show receipts for everything, then I wouldn't mind buying from your store. All right. I like it. You know what I'm saying? So Genesis 6, we're going to move right along. So what I'm saying is, according to what I see, look how it's written. And I like the KJV simply because it has the archaic English. English is one of those languages that changes over time, but the root meanings are still there as long as you have reading fundamentals and comprehension skills. Like there are things called literary devices, and it's just important to know how to parse through scripture or how to read just period. Some people don't know the difference between verbs, adjectives, and nouns, but I'm not trying to crack slick on nobody. I'll just say according to some, and we could probably Google it to get actual stats, that Americans, children and adults are not really the greatest at reading. Our reading comprehension here in Baltimore is at an all-time low. I'm just telling you, a lot of people can't read. Some people's grandparents not readers. Some people's parents not readers. That don't mean they bad people. Reading is just not your strong suit. You might be better at math. There's no disrespect. I'm just keeping it a buck. Now, I'm going, and it says, and the Lord, here goes right here. And it came to pass when men, so these are human men, began to multiply on the face of the earth, and the daughters were born unto them. Men, daughters born unto men, that the sons of God, capital G, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men. See that there's a distinction there? Because if it was just humans all the way around, they would just say that men had daughters and then they made it with people that worship God. But that's not what it says. It specifically says that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair. Or, and you want to read it in another version, that the sons of God, angels in this context, or I would say, in my opinion, I would say fallen angels, saw that the daughters of men were beautiful, and they came down and took wives of any of them they chose. And they took them wives of all they chose. And the Lord said, and it's capital, as the capital Lord. All four of these letters is in capital. And it says, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh. Yet his days shall be 120 years. Verse 4, here we go. There were giants in the land, or there were giants in the earth in those days, and also after. So that means there's a semicolon there that says there were giants in those days. And then there's another time, and also after that, that the sons of God, or the B'nai Ha Elohim, or we'll say just as a place marker, it is my belief that this is fallen angels came into the daughters of men, and they bare children to them. The same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown. For those who don't know, mighty men and men of renown. Renown means a person of high levels of respect, right? And so I don't want to waste too much time, but I want to just show you that I'm not making it up. Giants, Nephil. This is where the word Nephilim comes from. Nephil. Let me see what they saying.
No, don't rush it. Take your time, man. You cooking, man. You don't want to burn the food. Let's go.
You right. For some reason, it's not playing anymore. I ain't tripping, though.
Strong's H 5303. Nephil.
And here's what's funny. The root word to that, as you can see right here, it says in English, fail, fall down, cast down, fall away, divide, overthrow, present, lay, rot, accept, lie down, inferior, lighted, lost, and I think that says miscellaneous. But here's what's funny. That's why I say fallen angels. When you scroll down, Nephilim, to fall, giants, properly, a feller, i.e. a bully or a tyrant, a giant. Okay, so these particular things, I ain't never seen two humans make a giant. Unless you think like Shaq or somebody, like a basketball player, Yao Ming or somebody, but I don't think that's what that's saying. It's saying that human women did something with fallen angels, and as a byproduct, it created mighty men, which were of old, men of renown. And another version says, the Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God went to the daughters of men and had children by them. They were the heroes or legends of old, men of renown. So these guys have status. Say less. I'm gonna just keep reading. Verse 5. Let me make sure I got it on the screen so y'all can see where I'm at as I read. The Lord saw how great the wickedness of the man had become on the earth, and they every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil all the time. Verse 6. It grieved the Lord that he had made man, and his heart was deeply troubled. So it says, and then it goes on to say, and the Lord said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, and the creeping thing, and the fowls of the air, for it repenteth me that I have made them. Verse 8. But Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. Okay, that's interesting. Where can I find this material in another text? I'll tell you.
Epic of Gilgamesh.
That's a good one. Also, the Book of Enoch. I'll hit that too. Unfortunately, the Book of Enoch, I don't think I can pull it up in here, but I do. I don't think it'll come up in the blue letter.
Before we go to the Book of Enoch, or you about to pull up Enoch right now?
No, go ahead. Say what you was gonna say.
I was gonna say before we pull up the Book of Enoch, we have a guest in here, David Chandler. David, go ahead, introduce yourself to everybody. Did you have a question or something to a comment you wanted to add?
Oh no, I was just going to thank you guys for having me on the panel. I think this is a very interesting subject. I'll save all my questions for the end of the conversation, but you guys, go ahead and continue.
What's up, Dave?
Appreciate you.
Hey, what's going on, Cannon?
We definitely gonna get to some stuff that I know that you have, affinity for. Let me just get through, I guess, the prerequisite. And then we're gonna go there. You want me to go on?
Yeah,
or should I or you wanted to add something?
Oh, well, I was just gonna talk about the Nephilim. They came after the flood. They were giants. Well, actually, they were evil spirits, fallen spirits that were released after the flood. And I thought that was kind of interesting how after these spirits were released into the world, into the earth, that people were beginning. Of course, there was a sin nature. God, the man had fallen at this point, and so the thoughts of men of men were continuously evil. And that's the passage that you see in Genesis chapter 6. And so I think this is a pretty interesting conversation. So you guys can continue on. I'm going to wait until after you do your premise to give my thoughts.
Appreciate you, bruh.
No problem.
So I'm pulling up a PDF. I'm gonna have to share this tab instead. I pulled up just a quick PDF so you can see. This is just you can find the Book of Enoch just by Googling it, and to save time, I just randomly switched to a random one. Most people have the Apocrypha and their Ethiopian version of the Bible, or some Latin Vulgates may have it. But you can find the Book of Enoch online pretty much for free. But I just pulled it up so that you could see that I wasn't making it up. The reason why I think the Book of Enoch is worth discussing is simply because it was found at Qumran as part of the Dead Sea Scrolls. I believe that there are quotations in scripture, but just from a textual criticism standpoint, I'm not sure if I would say that it's canon in terms of the 66 books of the Protestant Bible, but there are other denominations that hold this on par with scripture. And I'm using it to show you that another ancient text attributed to Enoch, which was the seventh from Adam. And in the scriptures, the Bible says that Enoch was, for lack of better words, just a good guy that he really liked, that he took off the earth. Like, he didn't die enough and God just took him. I can go to that scripture in Genesis if you want me to, or David could quote it later, or AONE, but I'm just going to read Enoch 6. I'm going to go from 1 to 8. And it goes, and it came to pass when the children of men had multiplied, that in those days were born unto them beautiful and comely daughters, and the angels, the children of the heavens, saw and lusted after them, and said to one another, come, let us choose us wives from among the children of men, and beget us children. And Semyaza also, in the next with comment also. So I'm trying to say that Semyaza is next in command to another entity by the name of Azazel, was their leader. That's in verse 3, right? And so I kind of lost my place. Second, come on, all right. And beget us children, and Semyaza, who was their leader, said unto them, I fear ye will not indeed agree to do this, and I alone shall have to pay the penalty of a great sin. And they also answered him and said, let us all swear an oath and all bind ourselves by mutually imprecations not to abandon this plan, but to do this thing. Then they swear they all together and bound themselves, verse 6, by mutual imprecations upon it. And they were in all 200. Moving down some, my fault.
Yeah, all it's showing is verse 6 through 10 on the screen right now.
Okay, yeah. Oh, that's all you can see?
Yeah, you were reading verse 3, and then I ended up putting you on a Jumbotron because I knew it wasn't on the screen.
It wasn't? Oh, my fault, because
I didn't want to cut you off, though.
You good. I should have had this. I thought I had it pulled up in a different tab where it was like, so everything I have highlighted is what I'm basically reading, so that I'm not reading a whole book. Now
I want to read this comment. Nene Hawkins says, this account is referenced in the book of Jude, the angels who kept not their first estate.
Remember we talked about that? I'm gonna pull that up in a second.
Yeah.
And
shout out Nee Hawkins on that one.
And they were in all 200 who descended in the days of Jared, or really there is no J at this time, in the days of Jared on the summit of Mount Hermon. All right. And then it says, and these are the names of their leaders: Semazaz, the leader, Arakiba, Ramil, Kokabil, Tamail, Ramael, Daniel, Ezekiel, Barakil, Azael, Armoros, Badarel, Ananel, Zakil, Samsapil, Sadarel, Turel, Yomiel, and Sario. In verse 8, these are their chiefs of tens. So it's funny how they got names. It gives you a location, and it tells you that these were the leaders of their 10. So these are like chiefs. They made a pact. About 200 of them made a pact to show up on Mount Hermon and come and start grabbing up females and meeting with them. I thought that was very, very interesting. And so
the fact they made a pact to do this, like a premeditated decision. Like, that's
right.
wild.
And so somebody mentioned Jude. I'll go to Jude. Jude is only one. Yeah, Jude. Just because I feel like when other people participate, this is interactive. I'm giving you the storyline because I know where to find it, but it's up to you to make a decision on where it is. And so Jude is the servant of Jesus Christ and the brother of James, to them that are sanctified by God the Father and preserved in Jesus Christ and called. And then I'm gonna scroll down some because we want to speak on specific terms.
It's showing 11 through 14.
Okay.
And Nee Hawkins says it's funny what they did back then with the mixing of species and animals is ironically being done.
I was just about to get in that because we want to talk bloodline in a second. But I gotta all right. We're gonna get to it.
I have a podcast coming up in the next 48 hours on transhumanism. Please subscribe to my channel at Astro Projections 369 on YouTube. You don't want to miss this one. Go ahead.
And so, all right. So here's a little quick teaching point. What I like about the Blue Letter Bible, you see these little reverse P looking columns on. Oh, oops. Let me share this tab instead.
PDF. Yep, there you go.
See this thing right here?
I don't see where you're. Okay, yeah. The little P.
Yeah, that's like a paragraph symbol. I forget what you actually call it, but you notice from here to here is a paragraph. This is the start of a new thought right here. But these things, this is how you know where there's a change in the thought. So I'm gonna start at where did he say he wanted to start? I'll start at verse 5.
He said Jude 1:6, but okay,
All right, yeah. I'm gonna start at
1:5
verse
is
5
perfect.
because it's the beginning of the paragraph. I will therefore put you in remembrance, though ye once knew this, how that the Lord, having saved people out of the land of Egypt, afterward destroyed them that believe not. And the angels, here we go, and the angels which kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation, he have reserved in everlasting chains under darkness unto the judgment of the great day. Okay, so let's break this down. The angels, right, which we know means messengers. Angelos means messengers. We're not going to waste time. Estate. Look,
Yeah, what was
first,
their first estate? Was it the heaven?
yep.
Okay, go ahead. I'm just making sure I'm following along.
Yeah, because that's where they came from.
Yep, I'm just making sure I'm comprehending and following along right.
Oh, say less. So here's what's funny. RK. I just like hearing him say it himself.
Strong's G 746. Arche. Arche.
Now, Nee Hawkins says, look it up in the Greek for her one time, or him. I'm not sure.
That's a dude. That's GT.
I apologize.
This is the Greek right here. That's what I'm in. RK, right? It's interesting because from the beginning is what this word means, but the RK, the key word we're looking at, beginning, origin, the person or thing that commences, the first person or the thing in the surge, the leader, that by which anything begins to be, the origin, the active cause, the extremity thing, the extremity of a thing, of the corners of sale, the first place, here we go, the first place, principality, rule, majesty of angels and demons. So probably this is an abstract term, the commencement or concretely chief, various applications of order, time, place, rank. So wherever they belong, the beginning, location, where they originated from, where they came from, their chief place, their estate as magistrate, power, principality, principal rule is that they left this location, which may have encompassed a few things: their status, their location of where they dwelled at, and who they were supposed to be. You following? Am I off base, or am I talking good?
I'm walking with you, baby. I'm walking with you.
I'm gonna go back to Jude because for some reason when I hit back, it always run me up out of there.
David Chandler says Ocretion. Oh, am I saying that right? Ocretion.
Oh, Okatarion. Remember we were talking about that. Let me get to that. So we are at 6, but left their first habitation. He had reserved in the everlasting chains in darkness. Let me go back to this again and get to Okatarion because they see habitation. We know what habitation is, like habitat. This is where these angels particularly belong. But what does, shoot, I hit the wrong button. Idios. That's not the right word.
Take your time. Take your time. Nehawk and Najichi says the Greek Okatarian refers to them taking off their spiritual house.
Right there, habitation.
Their spiritual bodies.
Let's see how they say it. Oh, it didn't play. Let me hit it again.
Strong's G 3613. Oiketerion. Oiketerion.
It's funny is because the root word is dwell, and the second part of the root word is prison. So they were housed. Something about them was housed differently. Okay, and I use house, and look what comes up. Strong's following manner: house, habitation, a dwelling place, habitation of the body as a dwelling place for the spirit. So somehow they took off their spiritual nature of some sort, literally or figuratively, a habitation, a house. So this is their residence. This is very interesting. This is very interesting data because we're saying according to this scripture that they were punished
Hold on, Darian. Yo, mic drop one. Maybe it's my audio because I'm hearing the echo on me. Do you hear echo?
I started making a call in another chat and it dropped me.
Oh, okay, there you go. You back, and the echo's gone.
All right, hold on. My sound is messed up. Hold on 1 second.
Okay, we can hear you clear over here, and the echo's gone.
Okay.
No, you drop back down like you're underwater.
All right, how about now?
Keep talking, and I'll let you know. Go ahead.
Okay.
It's still not as good, but you sound better than when I cut you off.
Hold on, I'm about to try to put a headphone in. I might leave out and come back.
Yeah, if I have to. We want to make sure the people can hear you because you got a good presentation going.
Somebody started a call.
No, you sound good.
Okay, I'm good.
They know what they be doing. They know what they be doing.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
All right, say less. All right. So it says, what was the last thing you heard me say? You want me to go over Orgitarion one more time?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So as I was saying with Orgitarion, let me just go back to it. I'll just go back to it. Sorry, that kind of threw me off a little bit. I can't. Love they don't have
time. Take your time. Don't feel like you rushed because
we good. All right. So what I was saying was Orgitarion. I played the word, and the root word Orgitarion comes from two other words. One is dwell, and the other one is prison, which is interesting. So essentially, the biblical usage, and it's only in two locations. 2 Corinthians and Jude. We're talking about Jude. And is referring to these entities that came from out of the heavens, their dwelling place or habitation for their spirit, of the body as a dwelling place for the spirit. So it's a derivative of or equivalent to a residence, literally or figuratively, a habitation or a house for their spirit. So what the GT was saying, and what I concur with him, is that somehow they were able to take their spiritual nature off in some way, shape, or form. What that actually really means is really hard to discuss. We can make inferences based on the information, but it's tough because this is one of those things where it's really, really hard to really unpack that with just a quick little breakdown. But they were punished for that. These particular angels are trapped in chains under darkness until the judgment of the great day. And here's what's funny. Some people say that's not what it's talking about. The very next verse talks about Sodom and Gomorrah, Jude chapter 1, verse 7. Even as Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities about them in like manner, here we go, giving themselves over to a key word, fornication, and going after strange flesh, are set forth for an example, suffering the vengeance of eternal fire. Why is that important? Because what the Bible is essentially alluding to is, according to Genesis and Enoch, fallen angels, which caused them to fall, is women. They lusted over pretty women of humans, and they intermingled or copulated or basically fornicated and had sex with them, and it developed these legendary heroes of old. So if a human and an angel mate, it is a hybrid species. It is no longer just 100% human, and it is not 100% angel. And so the Bible is saying that fornication in this particular aspect is no good. Similar to Genesis, Sodom and Gomorrah was on the same type of time. It's in the same paragraph brackets. Look at verse 5 again. See that reverse P? Verse 7 is within that same level of context. You know it's the same level of context because the next P, reverse P thingy, is at verse 8. Even as Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities about them in like manner, giving themselves over to fornication and going after strange flesh, are set forth for an example, suffering the vengeance of eternal life. I mean, of eternal fire. Sorry. And so we'll get out of that for a second. I got one more little quick thing, and I can pull it up if you want to see it. You know what? I'll pull it up so that I'm not being accused of being dishonest. There's another chapter in Enoch, chapter 69. And let me switch my tab. I'm actually learning how to use the tab on the back, and I'm typically running the channel, so I've never been this person. Can you share my screen again for me? Oh, I hit the wrong button.
Take your time. Take your time.
Let me present again. Share screen.
Nee Hawkins says this is the reason God sent the flood.
Correct.
You can go ahead. You know, I'm just reading some of these comments.
No, keep doing it. That's good. That's good data.
David Chandler says these spirits corrupted the bloodline. He's on the panel right now. That's him down there.
Yeah,
looking like a young jazz singer.
Yeah. Like his first name, Miles.
you play the instruments, David?
Say again?
You playing the instruments?
No, I write actually.
Okay. That's still definitely a talent and something that adds to the culture. Nee Hawkins says, LOL at Pan. Yes, strange flesh. The same way the angels procreated with human women. Likewise, also these filthy dreamers defile the flesh, despise dominion, and speak evil of dignities.
Yep, that was actually the next verse in Jude. So let's look at Enoch 69. And I'm gonna jump to verse 3 because I want to get to some other points, but I had to build this fundamental framework first for what I'm discussing. And these are the chiefs of their angels and their names, and their chief ones over hundreds and over 50s and over 10s. The name of the first was Jechon, that is the one who led astray all the sons of God or fallen angels and brought them down to the earth and led them astray through the daughters of men. And the second was named Asbiel. He imparted to the holy sons of God evil counsel and led them astray so that they defiled their bodies with the daughters of men. And the third was named Gadriel. He it is who showed the children of men all the blows of death and led astray Eve and showed the weapons of death to the sons of men. I read from 4, 5, and 6. I want to go down to 12. And the fifth was named Kasdaye. This is he, and some versions say like Kasdeja, but for lack of better words, I'm gonna keep his name started with a K. This is he who showed the children of men all the wicked smitings of spirits and demons, and the smitings of the embryo in the womb. Abortion, that it may pass away, and that the smitings of the soul, or the bites of the serpent, and the smitings which befall through the noontide heat, the son of the serpent named Tabiat. And so in the version that I have on the screen, it's slightly different, but it basically said the same thing. It didn't give the name. So I have extra notes. Let me go.
Najishi says the fallen angels taught the women witchcraft.
Bottom line, and abortions and war.
Not to nitpick. What do you mean by when you say witchcraft? Do you mean like magic?
Yeah. We go
same thing. Is that the same thing?
So they actually outline exactly what they do. I'm gonna read that. I'm gonna read specifically that so you know. And the names, and I'll read what's on the screen. And so that miscarries the blows of the attack of the soul, the bite of the serpent, the blows that occur midday, and the son of the serpent who is strong. Verse 13. And this is the task of Casbiel, the chief of the oath, who showed the oath to the holy ones when he dwelt on high in glory. And his name is Beka. And this one told holy Michael that he should show him the secret name so that they might mention it in the oath, so that those, who showed the Son of Man everything that is secret tremble before the name and oath. And this is the power of the oath, for it is the powerful and strong, and he placed this oath, a K, in the charge of the holy Michael. And these are the secrets of this oath, and they are strong through this oath. And heaven was suspended before the world was created and forever, right? So there, I want to find there's a list of all of the actual the specific teachings. GT, if you can remember the exact verse, throw it in there for me so I'm not chasing it. I'm gonna go to chapter 15 real quick.
Hold on, Cannon. I don't like leaving people backstage like I'm ignoring them. So we do have somebody I'm about to add to the panel. I don't know if he's going to be disruptive, if he has something constructive to add, but I just do want to warn you.
Okay.
And I'll let him shout himself out and make a comment. And then if you could wait to the end of the presentation to go in or do whatever you want. I don't want to derail what Cannon is doing. But JJ 7000, go ahead, unmute yourself and introduce yourself.
All right, peace and blessings. You already know who it is. I'm just here peeking around.
We can't hear you, JJ. You got to speak up.
Can you hear me now?
That's better.
All right. Yeah, I'm just peeking around, on the hunt, making sure the atheists, non-Bible believers ain't lying. So I'm just gonna sit back and watch.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, go ahead, Cannon.
Okay. What's up, JJ? I'm gonna just keep going. I jumped to chapter 15. I want to look at verse 8. And now the giants who are produced from the spirits in the flesh shall be called evil spirits upon the earth, and on the earth shall be their dwelling. Evil spirits have proceeded from their bodies because they are born from men, and from the holy watchers is their beginning and primal origin. They shall be evil spirits on the earth, and evil spirits shall they be called. On the earth shall be their dwelling. That was 9. Look at verse 10. Let me scroll down some. And the dwelling of the spirit of heaven is heaven, but the dwelling of the spirit of the earth who were born on the earth is earth. Verse 11. That part, I was going to skip that, but I don't want to look like I'm being dishonest. And the spirits of because it was just irrelevant. This is what I'm trying to point out. And the spirits of the giants do wrong, are corrupt, attack, fight, break on the earth, and cause sorrow. And they eat no food, do not thirst, and are not observed. And so now we're looking at 11. I'm sorry, I got a text message. Can y'all still hear me clear?
Yes, sir. And this is Enoch. He's reading, everyone.
Yeah, chapter 15. And the spirit of the giants or the Nephilim afflict, oppress, destroy, attack, do battle, and work destruction on the earth and cause trouble. They take no food, but nevertheless hunger and thirst and cause offenses. And these spirits shall rise up against the children of men and against the woman because they have proceeded from them. So GT, can you give me Enoch? It was Enoch 7 and 12. I think that's what he put on the screen. Was that what he put on the screen?
7, 1 through 2.
All right. Let me find that real quick because that one I didn't really realize that I should have put that in there. But that's a really good set. Enoch 7, 1 through 2. Chapter 7. Okay, and it says. Is this where I know the names by heart, but I don't see it where it says exactly. All right, I'm gonna just go back on it. I'm not sure if that's the right verse because it's only 2 verses. I'm gonna just type it on. It got to be on on Google. Fallen angels Teach.
And David Chandler says Helena Blavatsky, Annie Besant,
Oh yeah,
Alice
for sure.
Bailey, Mary Baker Eddy.
We're
And
gonna
those are the
get
names
right into them.
Okay.
We're gonna get right into them. All right, so according to the book of Enoch, you don't gotta show my screen at this moment. I'll just because I want to get to some of the other stuff. You don't have to. Enoch, first Enoch chapter 6 or whatever the case may be. But I want to teach humans. I'm gonna see if I can get it in a list.
Najiti says 712 is the right verse.
Oh, it is? All right, my fault for doubting you. Enoch, I'll just do another tab.
JJ says, damn, he fell off. Tell us something we didn't know. I'm joking. Go ahead. All
right, 7. Okay. Well, and they took wives for themselves and oh, you can't see it. Let me share this tab. All right, it's up. And they took wives for themselves, and everyone chose for himself one each. And they began to go into them and were promiscuous with them. So we see here, yeah, this was a good one. The fallen angels start mating with the women, and then they chose one. And here's the first one. So A1, this is what you wanted to see. This chapter 7, verse 1. And they taught them charms and spells, and they showed them the cutting of roots and trees, and they became pregnant and bore large giants, and their height was 3,000 cubits. These devoured all the toil of men, meaning like they couldn't even toil, mean like work. They couldn't even feed them because it was so much. They was too big until men were unable to sustain them. Okay, I didn't even have to explain it. It was in the next part. And the giants turned against them in order to devour men. And they began to sin. Here we go, verse 5. And they began to sin against birds and against animals, against reptiles and against fish. And they devoured one another's flesh and drank the blood from it. The earth then the earth complained about the lawless ones. Now it came to pass. I'm trying to see where it starts talking about the swords that and all the stuff. I didn't see that in there, GT.
Yeah, GT speaks about the crossbreeding.
Oops, I hit the wrong button.
They were crossbreeding. That's how they got stuff like centaurs and stuff like that.
All right, so hold on. Let me just go to. That wasn't that wasn't the scripture I was thinking about, but it wasn't bad. I just typed it in. Okay, there's a list somewhere in one of the books of Enoch chapters. I neglected to put that one on there. I'll do that if we get to do this again. Armoros, also known as Amoros or Armeniel.
You're not sharing anything.
Oh yeah, I did. I'm just gonna read it real quick.
Okay.
Because it's just I just Googled it on chat. I use Google's Chat GPT just to tell me what it is. I'll give you the sources in a second though. According to the book of Enoch, fallen angels have taught humans many things, including how to make weapons, cosmetics, and enchantments. So Armoros taught humans how to break enchantments. Azazel taught, remember I mentioned him early on, Azazel taught humans how to make knives, swords, and shields, as well as how to make cosmetics and ornaments. Some say Azazel may have also taught people how to make weapons that led to bloodshed and injustice. Gadriel, also known as Gadriel, taught humans how to use weapons, killing blows, and cosmetics. Barakel taught humans astrology. And Ezekiel, Cambriel, or Shazakiel, also known, it just depends on the translation. The name may be written a little different. Taught humans how to read the signs in the clouds, or i.e. meteorology. And there was a few other ones, but for some odd reason, it didn't give me the entire list. I'll see if I can get it to give me the entire list real quick. But
David Chandler says that's where numerology came from.
Okay. So here, Barakel taught astrology. I hate when it does it like this. Like it's not giving me all of it. I'm gonna see what scripture. I'll just ask it for the scripture so I can read it
The
straight
GT
from the
says Enoch 8.
Enoch 8.
Yeah.
Back.
And it sounds like somebody clicked in, but I don't see anybody backstage.
Enoch 8. Back. I don't like this. This little website didn't give me a good version of Enoch 8.
While you're looking at it, I'll go to a word from our sponsors while you're finding it.
Please
Everybody,
do that.
make sure you go subscribe to Paradigm Shift TV 314, the home of, some of the best intellects in the community. You can come here, find debates, lectures, etc. Don't miss out. Don't miss out. Don't miss out. Go sign up. They're giving away free trips. There's a lot going on over there. Cash prizes on the debates. If you're not there, what are you doing? This is the bracket for next round. This is the second round, third round bracket. We have me and Jay Fax. Our face-off is tonight. Pandemics versus Lord Benu. And the winner of these two debates will be battling for the championship. And if you're watching, go subscribe to my page too. Astral Projections 369 right now. Don't forget about me, the host with the most. Go ahead, hit that Cash App up to $ Astral Vibe Tribe. Again, that's $ Astral Vibe Tribe. If you felt any of the information we was doing, go ahead, drop $1 to me or something.
My man said, holla at me, throw $1 at me.
Holla at me, throw $1 at me. Let's go. Back on you.
All right. Okay, you can you see my screen tab, or do I need to hit the share my screen thing again?
You gotta share it again.
All right. Present. Share screen. Enoch chapter 8. I'm surprised I don't know why I missed this one, but anywho, book in Enoch chapter 8 says, and can you see it?
Oh, I apologize. There you go, right there.
All right, back. And Azazel taught men to make swords and daggers and shields and breastplates, and showed them the things after these, and the art of making them, bracelets and ornaments.
Zoom
and the
in a
art
little
of,
bit.
All right, hold on. Let me see if I can zoom in on this.
You might have to hit like the 3 dots in the upper right corner or something like that.
Let's see.
And it should say zoom.
I got it.
Okay. There we go. That's great right there. Yeah. Now everybody can read that on their phone, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Let me pull it up on mine and see what it's looking like. Go ahead.
All right, the book of Enoch 8, and this is you AONE. This is a response to AONE was asking, because David and GT spoke on angels teaching witchcraft, and so this is specifically what Enoch says they did. And Azazel taught men to make swords and daggers and shields and breastplates, and he showed them the things after these, and the art of making them, bracelets and ornaments, and the art of making up the eyes, and of beautifying the eyelids, and the most precious stones, and all kinds of colored dyes. And the world was changed. Keyword, and the world was changed. And there was a great impiety and much fornication, and they went astray, and all the ways became corrupt. And then it goes on to tell you more. Amarizarach taught all those who cast spells and cut roots. Amaros, the release of spells, and Barakil, astrologers, and Kokobil, portents. And Tamayil taught astrology. And Asdrel taught the path of the moon. And at the destruction of men, they cried out, and their voices reached heaven. All right. So I want to point out something. It says, and the world was changed. So had that information not been given at that time, swords and daggers and shields and breastplates, somebody taught somebody how to go to war. And then it shows the art of making bracelets. So jewelry and ornaments and beautifying the eyelids came, according to Enoch, comes from angels teaching them how to. You know what's funny? When I look at social media from some time, people can use makeup. People can use makeup to make themselves look better than they actually look. Sometimes people, and no disrespect to anybody, there are men who can fool other men by putting makeup on. You can't tell because of their face, especially certain types of people. And I'm not saying I was fooled. I'm saying that it happens. People get killed over this type of stuff.
You funny.
I'm keeping it a buck. So you telling me because a lot of people started wearing eyeshadow for no reason. Where'd that come from?
Mm-hmm.
You know who? And obviously, astrology. Everybody says astrology is so accurate, but to me, it's too. The Mazzaroth and astrology play around with the zodiac, but one tells of the coming of Jesus and the Mazzaroth, but the horoscopes, when astrology uses it to, oh, I'm a Scorpio, oh, I'm a Libra, oh, they get the saying that they follow the traits of this particular moon phase or these particular astrological signs. Well, it's accurate. Is it accurate, or are you putting yourself in a box and accepting it? Well, that's just how I am because I'm a Libra. You get what I'm saying? Like, is that what it is? Are we assigning things to ourselves? And as a man thinketh, so is he. Like, you know how when you hang around people too long, you start adopting their traits? Are we adopting the traits of the things that we accept psychologically and then becoming just like that? Oh, I'm a Cancer. And then you start acting a certain way. You know what I mean?
On Conspiracy Corner, I'm glad you brought that up. I am going to do a podcast on that with you and see if I can break down some of the sciences behind it, because there is a science behind it.
So the question is, we're just saying it. I'm not definitively saying anything, but the Book of Enoch says that the science, the teaching, and that particular science comes from a fallen angel.
You mean the knowledge of that?
Correct.
Of that. Okay. Yeah. And okay. Yeah. We don't disagree at all on that.
There's a word that I wasn't familiar with.
I like that. I like where you're going with it though. So it still can be considered evil, I guess. Is that what you're saying? Is it evil? Is it evil even if it's done in good intentions? Does intention have anything to do with it?
Intentionality is something we could definitely put a pin in and come back to.
Yeah, that's I just like throwing stuff out there.
No, that's good though. That's real good.
It gets people thinking.
Okay, so before we close out the first piece, portent. I didn't know what a portent specifically was, and I've seen this before, and I've been meaning to Google it. A portent is a sign of warning that something.
The screen.
I can.
Okay, everybody.
Yeah. All right, it's on that. It's up now.
Okay.
A portent is a sign.
A little bit.
So okay.
If you can make the definition like stretch to where the screen is, it's only half of the screen right now.
You got it.
David says astrology has some theosophical. It's small over here. Theosophical roots in it because Blavatsky taught the theosophy. That theosophy was divine wisdom, occult wisdom.
We're gonna get into that since he bringing it up. I just wanted to point out what a portent was.
See, I'm gonna have
a sign of warning that something, especially something momentous or calamitous, is likely to happen.
And
so it's like an omen.
Word
it was actually in a text for
Okay.
All right. Coca-Bill, you see it where it says Coca-Bill and Coca-Bill portents. I didn't know what that was. So basically he taught omens. Okay. And Tamayel taught astrology, and Azrael taught the path of the moon. And in verse 4, obviously no, it wasn't good because it ended up turning into, this was the result. Right here.
The destruction of men, they cried out, and their voices reached the heaven. Najichi says alien technology equals fallen angels giving men knowledge on how to create weapons for war.
Okay, so let's put a pause in reading through that particular text. I wanted to point out some things that I thought was interesting. Did you know, and I'll see if it'll come up now, some similarities between cultures. Mesoamerica, I didn't mean to type in Mesoamerican magic. like the Aztecs.
You talking about Quetzalcoatl and stuff like that?
I was gonna talk about the location where we find their whole entire. Oh, it's like that. Hold on,
Yep.
Aztec civilization, right? This on the other side of the world. Let me see. You can see this picture right here, right? Let me see if I can just want to make it bigger. So, keyword. This is in. Oh, it didn't come up. Share this tab. You see it now?
Pyramid of the Sun.
Yeah.
Yep.
The Teotihuacan pyramids are some of the largest of their kind in the Americas. Keyword, they pyramids. The Pyramid of the Sun and the Pyramid of the Moon began construction around the year 100 CE before the Aztec had arrived in the Teotihuacan, whatever. These marbles still stand at an increase. So I just wanted to point out a few things. Let me I want to see if I can find some of Aztec headwear. Let me see if I can see headdress. Let me see if I can find it. Images. I hate when that happens. Headdress. Maybe I'm looking at the wrong one. Is it the Mayan headdress? Okay. They also have Aztec Empire. Oh, you can't even see none of this. Hold on. Let me just get what I was trying to point out was the headdress of a specific tribe. I'll get to that another time. That's gonna take me out of my original point. But I wanted to point out that around the world there were multiple tribes that had pyramids. List of pyramids around the world. Around the world. Boom. Back. All right, let me share my screen. Share screen, and then I'm gonna just shift gears. But I just wanted people to see that this stuff is not as far fetched as we might. Oh, that's whack. It got real small. Let me see. All right, back. Can you see? I gotta share my screen one more time because it got small when I did it. It got real small. One second.
Take your time. Let me see what the comments talk about. Pan says, around the world.
All right, I'm gonna just have to make this page zoom in. Tell Pan I said he can hear me. What's up, Pan? Thank you for the support. You know how we rock.
And if you haven't already, definitely go subscribe to that channel on YouTube, Astro Projections 369. And don't forget to give Paradigm Shift a like and subscribe as well. Paradigm Shift TV 314 on YouTube right now. Tell them A1 sent you. You feel me?
I'm gonna share my screen.
Cannon. I'm about to get that sound effect for you.
Share my screen again. I just want to show this image. I know it's not going to be the biggest. See if you can see that.
Oh my God. That's super small. It's going on. Yep, keep going. Go right there. Go down one. Go down. It's too big now. Najichi says the biblical narrative has Cain's descendants as the inventors and creators of musical instruments. Is it possible they were the ones interacting with the fallen angels?
That's potential. Is potential. So check this out, right? At the top left corner, you'll see the ziggurat of Tepe Sila. The second one is the Pyramid of Djoser, the Pyramid of Khufu, the Ziggurat of Or, We're talking about Iran. The first one is Iran. The second one is Egypt. The third one is Egypt. The fourth one is Iraq. We're going in from ages 3000 BC, 2610 BC is blurry because I got it zoomed out so y'all can see. Here's the funny thing. In Iran, Khuzestan, Choga, Khuzestan is called Choga Zanbil. It's a ziggurat. It's a type of pyramid. The tomb of King Kashta, it's in Nubia, 500 BC. Kinshi Mausoleum in Xi'an, China. So you won't talk about Chinese pyramids. Why does every culture have these particular shapes? The Pyramid of the Sun, which is the one I brought up. The tomb of the general, the city of Juan, China. Borobudur Temple in Java, Indonesia. Prong Temple in Kolkirk, Cambodia. And the Chichen in the Itza, and it's El Castillo in Chichen Itza, Mexico. And those are those that to me, and I'm just going back to StreamYard. We can go back to you, Bob. You know what I mean? You know, it's just interesting because a lot of people take for granted, the pyramids in Egypt. When it's interesting that Mesopotamia at the Tower of Babel was a ziggurat, which is on that screen, the ziggurat of Ur. That's in modern day Iraq. That's the 1, 2, 3, the fourth one on the list. According to this, 2100 BCE. So that's relatively really old.
Now,
And it's one of
that the ziggurat acted as a portal for the gods. Babel equals gates of the gods.
Hey, you talking, bruh.
And then David says perhaps the Tower of Babel was a ziggurat.
It was a ziggurat for sure.
Yeah.
We know that for sure. And so now we're transitioning to one of the other titles. That was just the whet your appetite. What I'm saying is, as a Christian, I believe that fallen angels play a role in how the world was shaped, and that's why they're fallen angels. According to the book of Enoch, I hold the belief that the spirits of the fallen angels, which were, of the giants or the Nephilim, are the disembodied spirits of the giants. That's what makes them demons. Fallen angels are a type. Demons are a type. So the spirits of the demons are just a demon is nothing more than a Nephilim spirit, which is a demon. That's why they don't like humans. That's why in the New Testament, when Jesus get to Caesarea Philippi, it's a man in chains, and he got spirits and demons in him, and he says, "Legion, for we are many." Where those spirits come from? And when they get kicked out, the Bible says when they leave, they go into dry places, right? And they went into the pigs, but then the pigs immediately jumped in the water and died. So now they don't have no vessel again. Why do demons always look for vessels to control, right? So my theory is this: when the flood happened, the Bible says that the fountains of the deep burst open and water gushed out of the ground, right? On top of it raining at the same time. So there are chasms within the earth's crust where it used to hold water. That's a fact. We know that there was underground oceans that have bubbled up over time and come to the surface. Whatever geologists have said about it is, I guess, is the scientific explanation for that. But from a spiritual and I'm going to say keyword narrative driven standpoint, it is my belief, because I'm not going to be able to prove that at this moment. I'm not the best geologist. It is my belief that those chasms within the earth are dry now because that water is now on top of the land where we get most of our seas and oceans from. And when the Bible talks about dry places, when demons get cast out of people, they end up back down there. And I guess they work their way out and they go back finding more people to try to affect. So that's where I think demons come from. And I discussed that there. Let me stop sharing the screen, because And so I also believe, and you know, as we were talking about bloodlines. Oh yeah, definitely the GT. There's definitely oceans underneath the earth. I saw. Want to see Discovery Channel this article about it. But what's interesting is, and this is a bone towards David, that there was a time where you heard about like those 13 or 12 bloodlines and who who say they descended from dragons. You have people in China who say they're the descendants of dragons. You have the Dogon tribe that believe they came from something that came out of the stars. You have Germanic people and Mesopotamian people who believe that their bloodlines start in heaven and it was lowered. It was lowered. It actually says it on the tablet. What's that? The tablet for not Gilgamesh, but the same people. I think it's called the Enuma Elish.
Enuma Elish, the Atra Hasis.
Yeah, and so they believe that their ancestors are from the heavens, and that's why they lay claim to the title of sovereign kings and queens. And so what's interesting about all of this is there is a group of people in Europe who believe that they are descended from the bloodline of the dragon. I'm not going. Actually, I am going to show that, and I'm gonna be quiet because I want to. Since David is on the show, he can talk about Helena Blavatsky and the magic piece, because theosophy comes directly from these teachings. In fact, one of the interesting things that we tend to overlook, and I may have lost my actual tab with it on there. I will find it and bring it back up. What is interesting about this is when we discuss these things, we never really point out some of this material. How can they quantify that they are, like a serpentine race, or they believe that their bloodline is superior because they're the closest ones to the spiritual realm, which is crazy to me. My fault. I'm just trying to reopen a closed tab that I messed up.
Take your time. While you're doing that, I'm going to go to a word from our sponsors again. If you're watching this, go visit my website, PVO Miami. I have some political teas on here that you can go ahead and purchase. Just go ahead and click shop now. Boom, we got the new Kamala one in. Go ahead and vote. I love this one because the V is books, and it's got A Wrinkle in Time, To Kill a Mockingbird, Maya Angelou on there. And I like this right here. This, I forget the symbol for fertility they got on here. We have a couple, whether you're a Kamala fan or whether you're a Donald Trump fan, we got something for everybody. I didn't want anybody to feel left out. I feel like they're capitalizing off us. Why not capitalize off these people? So if you're a Trump fan, go ahead and get the You Missed t-shirt right now on pvomiami.com. Back to you, Cannon.
All right. I'm sharing a link. So this is a documentary by a guy by the name of Robert Seifer. He's talking about Japhetic races, specifically the Aryan ones, which are mostly all Indo-European, if not all. I'm gonna just hit the play button and let him talk for a few minutes, and then I'm gonna just make sure I covered everything. Make sure I didn't miss much. I'm gonna start right here. I'm gonna back it up just a bit, and we're gonna go from here. I'm gonna make it large.
Identifying these people ethnically and historically will hopefully tie together many loose ends.
Check this out. I'm going to show you how I afforded
Sorry,
this car.
but that always happens.
You ready? All right.
And then it jumped off.
There have been quite.
It actually jumped out of the. I think my mouse must be broken because it jumped away from it.
Well, these terms are no longer Caucasus Mountains, which is tribe of people.
A1 and I don't necessarily agree with everything he's discussing, but there's a few points that I want him to make. All right. enlarging the screen and go. If it
greater
please.
part of Europe and Asia as far as northern India. It implies over the greater. The word
There we go.
Indo-European describes a language family spoken over the greater part of Europe and Asia as far as northern India. It implies that a tribe of people, the Proto-Indo-Europeans, diffused in the past from the Black Sea area or Anatolia, and identifying these people ethnically and historically will hopefully tie together many loose ends. Proto just means before, original, or first. So Proto-Indo-European means the original tribe of people that spread in antiquity into Europe to the west and into India to the east. And when we look at the branch of anthropology known as linguistics, which means the origin of languages, the oldest branch of Indo-European languages were the Anatolian languages, the geographic area around the Black Sea, including the Caucasus Mountains, which is modern-day Turkey, and Armenia, once part of the Hittite Empire. Pliny the Elder's Natural History derives the name of the Caucasus from the Scythian kroi kausis, meaning ice shining white with snow. The Caucasus is where we get the term Caucasian from. In a biblical context, it's where Noah was said to have settled after the floodwaters receded.
I disagree. I believe that he landed at Mount Ararat, but we're going to continue.
Thank you. That's what I was going to ask you to do too, to stop it when you don't agree with something.
Yeah, I'm just saying, but you gotta remember he putting out his own information too because he got his own agenda. But I want him, because he compiled the information so well, I'll just point out that we can fact check some of this information. Some of it he nailed it, but obviously he has his own agenda.
In medieval ethnography, the world was divided into three large-scale groupings, corresponding to three classical Caucasian people of North Africa and the Caucasian Japhetic people of Europe. While these terms are no longer in use, mainly because of changing demographics, keep in mind that they...
Notice that these are the Sumerians. So there was a discrepancy in the chat, and there was a debate that happened, and it was a discussion about magic, where magic came from, and so on and so forth. I would submit to you that magic did not originate in Egypt. It originated in more of Mesopotamia, and we're talking about ethnically. It wasn't an African construct. Do Africans have their own form of shamanism, and they have their own practices that lead into like what later becomes voodoo, Santeria, Candomblé, and things of that nature? Yes, but this is completely distinguished from their particular type of what we would say is magic, M-A-G-I-C. This is way before stage magic existed and things of that nature. I will submit to you it is an Indo-European, specifically an Aryan construct. Shortly, I'm going to pass the torch over to David to get into that, but I wanted to build on that. Why am I doing this? Because I'm pushing the idea that fallen angels came into this world and made adjustments which kind of changed the trajectory of history. And I believe that we can trace back lineages specifically that who have fallen into this particular aspect. And there's not just one group, but there are some prominent groups that we have an idea of. That's why I showed you Mesoamericans. I won't get into them in a second because we're specifically talking about the Aryans under the name of under the name they come through, i.e. Sumerian, Baltic, above Turkey type of people. We're going to get into. I'm going to let the gentleman finish up, and then I'll turn it over to somebody else so that they can have an opportunity to add to the discussion.
Applied to millennia ago and to the nobility of these societies, not every single individual that lived within a geographical region, which at one time included large slave populations. For now, let's focus on the expansion of the Scythian culture. The Sumerians lived on the steppes north of the Black Sea until they were driven from their homeland by the Scythians, who had themselves been driven from their homeland in Central Asia by a nomadic Massageti, who are also part of the group known as Indo-Europeans, meaning their languages shared the same root words and part of the wider Scythian culture. But these ancient Indo-European tribes were not united. They were constantly at war with each other. It doesn't mean that they were not of the same ethnicity, language group, or race. It just means they fought a lot. So there were also cultural variations among these various sects. For example, according to Herodotus, quote, "The dress and mode of living of the Massagetæ resembled the Scythians. They fight both on horseback and on foot. Their arms are all either of gold or of brass. Each man has but one wife, yet all the wives are held in common, for this is a custom of the Massagetæ and not the Scythians. Human life does not come to its natural close with this people, but when a man grows very old, all of his kinsfolk collect together and offer him up in sacrifice, offering at the same time some cattle also. After the sacrifice, they boil the flesh and feast on it, and those who thus end their days are reckoned the happiest."
Pause. Remember when we was reading about the fallen angels, that some of them, not only did they eat up all the food of the humans, but they started eating people?
Yeah.
Now we see people, we see a certain demographic of people that's into the same practices. Once they get to a certain age, they get a little older, then you eat that person. That's cannibalism. That's cannibalism. But I just wanted to point that out, that we're starting to connect some dots that we don't typically point out.
Fact.
"If a man dies of disease, they do not eat him and bury him in the ground, bewailing his ill fortune that he did not come to be sacrificed. The only God they worship is the sun, and to him they offer the horse in sacrifice."
Building your online
So I'm going to
business?
try to get through this commercial real quick because
Wix.com
it's getting
and
to a
set up-
point. Notice
So this Indo-European sect was clearly into sun worship, cannibalism, and sacrifice. Procopius of Caesarea was the principal Byzantine historian of the 6th century, and in his writings called History of the Wars, the Buildings, and the Secret History, states that, quote, "the Massagetæ, whom they now call Huns." Roman historians also considered the Alans to be the former Massagetæ. So I know this might be a little confusing, as these tribes are not spoken about in Hollywood films or even in modern classrooms, but it will make more sense later. The 4th century Roman historian Ammianus Martialis wrote that the Alans were tall, blonde, and, quote, "nearly all of the Alani are men of great stature and beauty. Their hair is somewhat yellow, their eyes are terribly fierce." According to the Jewish historian Josephus, the Alans were Scythians. When we look up the Alans, we find that the name Alan is an Iranian dialectical form of Aryan, which brings us to another term no longer used in any university after World War II. Yet the word Aryan is etched in stone thousands of years ago in places like the Behistun inscription in Iran, and is synonymous with the modern term Indo-European. The Alans, Massagetæ, the Hittites of Anatolia, the Suebi, which I covered in a recent video, who became the modern Swedes and occupied southern Germany in what is now called Swabia, and the Scythians, were all Aryan tribes that shared Indo-European or Aryan ancestry. In Histories, Herodotus describes the Budini of Scythia as red-haired and gray-eyed. In the 5th century BC, Greek physician Hippocrates argued that the Scythians were light-skinned. The 2nd century BC,
pay attention to the artwork in the background. If you notice, it's gold with people on it with dragons connected to them. Just and notice that some of the dragons look like they hybrids. Just pay attention. This is their own personal artwork. Are you noticing this, bro?
Oh, my mic was muted.
Chinese
Yeah, this
envoy
look dope.
Zhang
This look dope.
Qian described the
craftsmanship
Saka,
alone.
another name for the ethnicity known as the Scythians, as having yellow hair and blue eyes.
What's interesting is that they are themselves saying that they are a part of a specific bloodline. And one of their noble traits is blonde hair and blue eyes.
Pliny the Elder characterizes the Saka, Scythians, or Tocharians as red-haired, blue-eyed, and unusually tall, which is supported by the 4,000-year-old, 6'6" tall Caucasian mummy.
The Aryans,
Go
and
ahead, bro.
I was gonna say, and the myth is that they are an alien race from the constellation. I forgot which constellation it was. Go ahead, though.
If you look at this particular symbol, what is this?
The snake
wrapped around some jewelry, and it's in gold. What else is coming on into the screen?
He's found in China. The 4th century bishop Gregory of Nyssa wrote that the Scythians were fair-skinned and blonde-haired. So these tall, ginger and blonde and blue-eyed Aryan tribes from Central Asia and Anatolia, which went by many names.
And notice a 3,000-year-old Iranian golden swastika necklace from Marlik found in Rashid, Iran. Iran is in the Middle East. It's in the Middle East. Iran is the modern name for Persia. Persia is directly in the Bible lands. So you got, as Pan says, ginger-headed people, dragons, blonde-haired, blue-eyed people that are extremely tall.
You have dragons, and
swastikas.
There's a theory that the serpent, or the how you say that word?
The nakash.
That's how I was gonna say it too. The nakash that was in the garden was actually a dragon, not a snake. I've heard that theory presented.
But here's what's funny: a serpent can be either one of those things, a snake or a dragon. Prime example, in China, you know what their favorite symbol is?
The serpent / dragon.
Correct. And isn't it more snake-like than the ones in ancient England and all of that?
Now, what's crazy is they use this symbol of the swastika too. They have it dead smack in the center of their Buddha.
Exactly. Because they have Indo-European ancestors, specifically ethnically tied to this group of people. They are also Aryans.
Yep, I'm gonna pull it up while you're teaching.
Okay, I'm gonna hit play again. Let this rock out just a little bit longer.
Including the Huns, whose ancient symbology included the swastika symbol and serpents, entered Europe in several waves, represented as a great dragon in many European myths and legends that had an appetite for cattle and young virgins, and in many cases established themselves as royalty and nobility. To help drive this point home, let us take a look at some of the World War I and World War II propaganda from Allied forces about the Germans. Hun, or the Hun, is a term used in reference to the Huns of the migration period. This term was used heavily during World War I and was often seen on Allied war posters. The origin of the term was a reference to Attila the Hun, which in my last video I told you had red hair and blue or green eyes, regardless of the false modern depictions of him. The usage of the term Hun to describe Germans resurfaced during World War II, although less frequently than in the previous war. For example, Winston Churchill in 1941 said in a broadcast speech, quote, "There are less than 70 million malignant Huns, some who are curable and others killable, most of whom are already engaged in holding down Australians, Czechs, Poles, and the many other ancient races they now bully and pillage." Later that year, Churchill referred to the invasion of the Soviet Union as the dull, drilled, docile, brutish masses of the Hun soldiery plodding on like a swarm of crawling locusts. During this time, American President Franklin D. Roosevelt also referred to the German people in this way, saying that an Allied invasion into southern France would surely, quote, "be successful and of great assistance to Eisenhower in driving the Huns from France." So I'm not making any commentary about who are the good guys and who are the bad guys. Since people tend to have their minds already made up, my point is simply that blue-eyed people from the Middle East migrated into Europe, many of whom have ancestors today that have no clue about their own Central Asian or Middle Eastern origins,
Sure.
thinking that they're fair-haired and light-eyed Europeans sprouted out of the ground, the same way that people in modern India think that their upper caste nobility, known as Aryans, were always there and never rode in on their horses, introducing Sanskrit, the swastika, and the ethnic caste system thousands of years ago.
Boom. Check this out. This is what I wanted you to see. Look at the genetics. Look at South India, bro. Can you see this? For
Yep,
everybody watching,
I can see it.
Well, 6 different locations. All of these people have the same exact genetic markers. And admixture. If you can see at the bottom of the screen, I get it. I'm sorry if y'all can hear my dog whining. The next scene is very important. Check this out.
Which they certainly did.
Boom.
Geneticists.
Blue-eyed natives of Pakistan. Look at Joe. Look at what he wearing. Look at these dudes. Blue-eyed people from Pakistan. Blue-eyed people. Blue-eyed natives from Iran. Blue-eyed natives from India. Afghanistan. Look at these places.
Having compared mitochondrial DNA from blue-eyed individuals in diverse countries, such as
it says geneticist. I'm sorry about that. My dog is whining. And countries as diverse as Jordan, Denmark, Turkey, concluding that people with blue eyes have a single common ancestor that lived by the Black Sea around 8,000 years ago, spreading out with agriculture.
Such as Jordan, Denmark, and Turkey, concluded that people with blue eyes have a single common ancestor that lived by the Black Sea around 8,000 years ago, spreading out from there during the Holocene, along with domesticated animals, agricultural civilization, and the Aryan language family. By the way, this includes many people that do not have blue eyes, but carry the gene for blue eyes recessively.
Please don't scroll.
All right, I'm gonna stop there for a quick second because I know you was pulling up some material too. And David, I'm setting you up because what you're gonna see is that these people begin to not only go from being nomadic tribes, similar to what the Hebrews are, the Hebrew Israelites are, but they are different. These aren't Edomites. These are what they call Scythians. They are in the Bible. They're mentioned in the Bible. But these guys end up becoming like Attila the Hun. If you notice, they fight the same exact way on horseback with archery in the beginning, just like Genghis Khan did. They have a certain haplogroup marker, and you begin to see that these people somehow end up as European nobility in most of these cultures. You know, so I just wanted to point that out, and I wanted to give the floor to AONE. I didn't want to take all the time. Take your phone, take it off mute, bro.
Yeah, you was teaching, you was doing your thing. I'm over here just listening and learning, man. Listening and learning another perspective. And you know, it's dope to hear it from many different points of view because, again, it's a 2,000-year-old book. You know, it's a 2,000-year-old philosophy, and this stuff needs to be talked about. I want to hear what David has to add. He was waiting patiently. The whole 2 hours. How long we been live? An hour and 45 minutes. He been waiting patiently. I definitely want to hear what he has to add. Oh, you know what? Let me share this before he goes in. Okay, let me zoom in on this. I just typed in China Buddha swastika, and let me zoom in so that way you can clearly see this. Let me get off of this. Can you see that clearly? The swastika?
Yeah, I can. That's crazy.
Yeah, and people, it's all over the place, and people don't pay any attention. It's like they look right past it. Even at their festivals on their temples, you see right here. I'll go to some more. You know, here goes another picture with it represented in all the different cultures and how they drew it out. I had this on a podcast. I forget which podcast I did like a year ago that broke this down. Here it is again on another temple. And usually you'll also see it represented with a magnet thing in the middle, where it looks like a what's that? It looks like a field goal post thing. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Like the two hot. Yep.
Yeah, usually that's in the center of the swastika. To represent magnetism, and we're going to do a whole podcast / watch video on this video I have that presents a theory as to what that is, why it's there, etc. And four winds, yep, the four winds, and I've also heard it referred to as the way the constellations, but then I've also heard it broken down as to the four rivers that come from. They say Mount Meru. I mean, this is whole theory they have.
It just depends on what esoteric or Gnostic teaching you're going with, because what you're finding out is what you're going to find out. And I actually could have showed some more things, but there's a handful of cultures throughout the ages that have what their baseline core teaching is what the teachings of the mystery religion is. So a lot of people don't understand what the mystery religion is. It's not Egyptian in of itself. It's multiple cultures, the multiple core teachings of each, because they left, we'll say, breadcrumbs in each of the places that they came from. And what you're seeing is one of the core pieces. They believe that their particular bloodlines, which are Indo-European, not all white people have these markers, but these specific groupings, linguistically, genetically from their haplogroup, and then religious systems have these secret compartments where you can store this information. And if you know what you're looking for, you can find the hidden gems and links that connect these people together. These people are practitioners of specific information, but I land my plane.
David, you got anything to add? Comments, criticisms, corrections?
Yeah. I don't have any corrections. Darian was spot on in his presentation. I think this is probably the most extensive presentation that I've ever heard on the occult itself, because as you know, I've studied the occult for quite some time, and it's important to know, of course, what the word Nakash means in the Hebrew. When we read in Genesis chapter 3, it talks about the serpent being the most subtle beast in the field. And it's kind of interesting because this word Nakash means divination. It means to, it's an occult word, and so to practice divination. So what we have is, in every Harry Potter book, every Harry Potter movie, you have dragons. I was a fan when I was growing up. I was a fan of the Masters of the Universe, and what did all of the magic users use? Dragons. And so I believe that this is pretty much the same. The mystery religion.
Excuse me.
Mm-hmm. The mystery religions. Darian talked about that briefly, but the mystery religions began in Babylon. When we hear about Babylon,
Mesopotamia, Samaria,
it spread throughout that region because God told the people to separate. Now, when God came down to confound the language after he saw what they were into, what they were up to, they dispersed and they went to various parts of the world. And so they set up all of the same religion, ancient, Babylonian, or the mystery religions. Some people call them the mystery cults. But it's very interesting to realize that when we go to all these different countries like India, um, Nepal. Nepal is right next to, in between China and India. And what's the main religion there? Hinduism. And so what we have is a particular culture slash religion, and that particular this is where the East, all of the Eastern religious philosophies like Hinduism, Buddhism, Shinto, and all of these other religions, they always talk about knowledge. They're always talking about enlightenment. They're always talking about being a sage. Having like Buddhism. Buddhism doesn't teach. It's not necessarily religious, but they teach enlightenment, and they teach that this person called the Buddha is only there to bring enlightenment, whereas New Agers teach in the same thing, but they believe that there is going to be an individual to come during after they set up their new age or their new AONE, and it's going to be called the Maitreya. Some people call it I forget the other names that they use, but the main name is Maitreya, and Maitreya is supposed to come down and bring and provide esoteric knowledge to mankind. The song that was written by the Fifth Dimension, called on the Hair album in 1969. It's called the Age of Aquarius. When the moon hits the seventh house, and peace will align with Mars, and peace will guide the planets, and love will hit the stars. This is the dawning of the Age of Aquarius. So that is, like Blavatsky taught in her books, it's going to be a time where the elite, or the Lucifer, or the satanic elite will bring about a utopia, or some type of utopian society, which is a lie. It's false peace. But this is what they're teaching. They're New Agers. And so now we have everybody's talking about we're in the age of Aquarius now, because we're in an age where there's all kinds of spiritual enlightenment, all kinds of technological advancements, all kinds of medical science advancements. So that signifies a dawning, or a paradigm shift, or the dawning of a new world where mankind is going to set himself up as God. There were writers that wrote something similar to this, Animal Farm, by a guy by the name of, I can't remember his name, but I read it in 10th grade. And then you have, the Huxleys, Julian and Aldous Huxley writing the Perennial Philosophy. You have other individuals writing, Brave New World by Julian Huxley. Brave New World is pretty much the same thing that I just described. And so this is very, very interesting. I'm glad to, again, at the start of the premise, I'm glad to have been a part of the show. But before I be quiet, I want to explain what a lot of the bloodlines, because Darian again talked about briefly about the bloodlines. There are 13 known bloodlines. There are more, but there are 13 main known bloodlines. And if you take out your dollar bill and look at the back of it, you see what is called a pyramid, or a ziggurat. And at the top, the main brick at the top is the Rothschilds. Now, the one that's half done, it's hovering above with the light flashing all over with the one eye, that's Lucifer. The all-seeing eye of Lucifer is what Luciferians call this. But this is called the 13 Illuminati bloodlines. And at the top of it they're the Rothschilds. The Rothschilds are supposed to be the richest family in Europe. They're a banking family. And they were responsible for starting the banks, the banking industry, the central bank. And of course, it's followed by the Bundys, the McDonalds, the Rosicrucians, all of these families. And it's very important to understand that these are Luciferians. Now, what is the difference between Luciferianism and Satanism? Well, it's not too much fundamentally, but There are slight differences. Number one is important to know that the slight differences are, you know, in Luciferianism, the belief is, or the doctrine, the main doctrine is that Lucifer was the one that was misunderstood, and he was he was man's liberator. Remember what we read in Genesis chapter 3, where the serpent said something very, very key to Eve. It was a lie, but he said something very key to Eve, and he said, "Ye shall not surely die, but your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good from evil." Now, God had already stated that if you eat from this tree, this particular tree of the knowledge of good and evil, ye shall surely die. That was it. That was the commandment he gave to Adam. But Lucifer said, serpent said something totally different. And so this is what they're teaching, like Blavatsky. She wrote in her book, I am the snake that giveth knowledge. It's very important to understand. I am the snake that giveth knowledge. She believed that that Lucifer was the main liberator of mankind, and Adonai, or the bad God, or the God of the Bible, the God of Judaic Christianity, is the one that's keeping us from this knowledge. He doesn't want us to know ourselves. He doesn't want us to know that we are gods. We have the God within us. So that's what Luciferianism is, as opposed to Satanism. Lucifer means light bearer, and so the half pyramid that's hovering above the pyramid, because the pyramid is unfinished. So the pyramid that's hovering above that is Lucifer. That's the light bringer, the light bearer, and he is supposed to bring light or enlightenment to the ones that are following him, which is a complete lie. But this is the main teachings of Luciferianism.
That was pretty good. That was good information, Dave. Can you tell me a little? Can you tie in? Can you tie in a little bit more about how these particular bloodlines go back to ancient times? Or wait, before we get into that, AONE, did you want to chime in, or did you want to look at the chat and see what other people were saying? You on mute.
Everybody was just agreeing in the chat. I was showing all the comments on the screen. We didn't have any points of contention from anybody.
That's a bet.
Yep, and I didn't really have anything to add. I was following along. I was learning today. I wasn't here to teach.
Hey man, I appreciate you for letting us rock. I'm glad David got on, because which I didn't know, but it was good, because this is an area where I feel like he really can shine. I'm gonna share a small smidget more of this particular presentation, and then I'll get into, I guess we'll talk, because we talked about the Bible, we talked about the bloodline a little bit, but I want to kind of drive home this bloodline point, and then we can get in towards the third portion and discuss how magic ties into some of these things, and give you our, I guess, closing statements at that point. I know we had 2 hours in. Maybe we should be done in a bit. Hold on, let me see. Okay, my screen already sharing.
All right, let me go over.
Let me make sure I can find it again.
Gotcha.
I hit the wrong button, so I just got to find it myself.
Cannon. Professor Cannon in the building.
Hey, look, man, it mean a lot to me that my man Pan on here. You know, I'm just trying to give a little bit of information, which is interesting. I actually lost that tab that I was using. That's crazy. Let me see if I can just reopen it, a closed tab, because for whatever reason I misplaced it. That's weird. One more time, reopen closed tab. You know what? I'll just go to YouTube again, and then I'll just reshare it again. History, It's crazy because I was in like the perfect spot, but that's cool. Once this commercial goes off, I'll bring it back up. Skip. All right, share this tab instead. Hit play.
That save domesticated animals used in agriculture and spreading out and disseminating agricultural civilization, horses, cattle, and Aryan languages into Europe and Asia, leaving behind blue-eyed statues that also matches genetic sequencing in terms of blue eyes, as well as a matching fossil record in terms of mummies in modern Israel dating back 6,500 years, 4,000-year-old blonde mummies in China.
So he's not saying Israel specifically as one place, but you can find, I guess, genetic markers for these people in most cultures. Like, for some odd reason, they knew how to get around, intermingle, and find their way to the top, even if they weren't a part of your culture.
China with the same DNA, also matching mummies of Egyptian pharaohs of the same phenotype. So there's absolutely no discrepancy between myth and legends of tall blue-eyed Aryans, properly interpreted biblical accounts, or the genetic or fossil record. In Wikipedia, the stature of the Scythians is recorded as follows, quote, anthropological data shows the Scythians were tall and powerfully built, even by modern standards. This was particularly the case for the warrior and noblemen, who were often more than 6 feet tall. Sometimes they exceeded 6'3" in height, and males exceeding 6'6" have been uncovered. The ordinary people whom they dominated were much smaller stature, averaging 4 to 6 inches below them in height. Skeletons of Scythian nobles differ from those of today by their longer arm and leg bones and stronger bone formation. These physical characteristics affirm an Iranian origin. The Scythians also adorned themselves with tattoos. The most famous Scythian mummy is known as the Ice Princess, discovered in an undisturbed tomb from the 5th century BC, a common type of tattoo being griffins, a legendary creature with the body, tail, and back legs of a lion, and the head and wings of an eagle. And
David, what you liked Harry Potter? Harry Potter was probably the strongest character in the series at one point. Do you remember what when he went to college at Hogwarts, what the name of his chapter was?
Oh boy.
He wasn't a Slytherin and he wasn't a Hufflepuff.
You're gonna have to get back with. I gotta look that up.
I just tell you, I thought you was gonna know offhand. He was when they put the sorting hat on him. They told him what class he was in. He was a Gryffindor.
Oh yeah, he was a Gryffindor. Right.
That's why they chose that, because a lot of times information is hidden in plain sight, and so too often they telling you stuff because ultimately Hollywood go and push their own agenda. Hollywood from a holly tree is what they make wands from. So when they talk about magic and stuff like that, oh, they love that type of stuff because that sleight of hand media is funny because the word media comes from a place from the same culture. I'm gonna show you that in a second. So the word magic, the word mage, media come from a place called media that existed, which got absorbed into Persia. So when you look it up on certain maps, it's called Medo-Persia.
Yeah, Medo-Persia. And the word magic also comes from the word magus, which
and magi.
Or magi.
They were called magi.
Yeah, which means teacher or wise one, where we get the word wizard from.
Correct.
As this is coming from Gerald Gardner's teachings on the religion called Wicca, and that's where we get witchcraft from, or practitioners of the craft. And Hollywood.
Go ahead.
I didn't mean to cut you off, but Hollywood is, they're very, very adept at what is called hidden in plain sight, esoteric language, and so is the music industry. But I'm not going to get into the music industry right now. But what I will say about Hollywood is that it wasn't always satanic, but for the sake of time, I don't know if anybody has heard of the Hays Code, but it was established some time ago in the 30s, and it didn't abolish and it didn't leave until 1966, where we had, and then in 1966, the establishment of the Satanic Bible was Anton LaVey, and then you had two key filmmakers that was instrumental in bringing or introducing the occult into Hollywood. Those two filmmakers are Roman Polanski, who wrote Rosemary's Baby in 1968, and Kenneth Anger, who wrote a film called Lucifer Rising, and the sequel to that, Invocation of My Demon Brother, which came, both films, one of them came out in 1972. The other one came out in, I think, around 1970. But and that introduced Hollywood into the world of the occult and Satanism.
That's a good point, bro. I'm gonna wrap this up, and then we're gonna get into the last part, and I'm gonna let you rock. Here we go.
In regards to what Scythians say about their origins, Herodotus says that, quote, the Scythians' legend about themselves, which portrays the first Scythian king, Targetus, as the child of the sky god and of a daughter of the Dnieper.
Pause. This is where I start giving you the smoking gun. This is their own origin story that they give. This is not what I'm saying. I didn't make this up. The Scythian legend about themselves, which portrays the first Scythian king Targetus as the child of the sky god. Child of the sky god. What I was saying in the beginning is this is why it's important. Where do fallen angels come from? The heavens. Where's the heavens? Above the sky. Every culture at one point had their own variant of a sky god, for the most part, with the exception of Abraham from the son who was related to Eber, who came by way of Ur of the Chaldees or the Chaldees, which is in Mesopotamia. Same location, he just wasn't Iranian. Here's what's funny. Remember I told you about, you know what? I'm gonna let him finish. I'm gonna let the man finish.
Targetus allegedly lived 1,000 years before the failed Persian invasion of Scythia, around 1500 BC. He had 3 sons, before whom fell from the sky a set of 4 golden implements, a plow, a yoke, a cup, and a battle axe. Only the youngest son succeeded in touching the golden implements without them bursting with fire. And this son's descendants, called by Herodotus the royal Scythians, continued to guard them.
Notice some of their crowns and stuff like that. None of this is African. None of it's African. Hold on, I'm gonna turn that down because we don't need to give these. We're not selling for these commercials. I want to point out a few things that these people believe they came from supernatural beings from the sky. And in a sense, Targetus was a hero of renown, just like the scriptures said it. These people weren't even Christians; they were sun worshipers in the beginning. That 8 people had nothing to do with Yahweh. They just happened to live in the same area and travel all around in and above the Fertile Crescent. So this is what was happening at the same time. Adjacently, where people in Egypt were doing similar practices and figuring out things for themselves. This is what they were doing. These people were traveling around with gold, on horses, cutting necks, robbing and raping and pillaging, and then finessing their way into different cultures. This is their teaching. They weren't Hebrews. And yes, according to GT, that's a primary source. If they saying it themselves, their own culture is saying it. That's why when we were discussing magic, you can't attribute magic with a K to black people because they have their own entire lineage and they've been around for a long time. They've been around when Egyptians was around. They was just on their own tip, fighting each other in the beginning, eating people, doing stuff that we don't even get into. You know what I'm saying? So it's important that for black people, we have a culture. But it's not okay to take other people's culture because we're not 100% sure. We need to make sure that we know what they getting into and know that that's not something that we want to adopt. We can't take everything. We can't adopt everything. Everything ain't us, and we ain't everything. So I'm just saying that because it's dangerous when we go and say black people was here first. Black people wasn't eating people first. You had to show me that. Black people wasn't out here riding on horses. There ain't no horses in Africa. Zebras don't allow you to ride them. So it's just important for us to understand some of the description of the things that happened in history without revising it. The benefit of I understand, but we can't do that anymore. We got to make sure that we looking at culture and giving respect where respect is due. These were some gangster red-haired and blonde-haired, blue-eyed or green-eyed Europeans, specifically called the Aryans. They like the swastika, and the swastika end up becoming a symbol for evil. Why? We know they got the Aryan Brotherhood, also called the KKK. They call themselves the Aryan Brotherhood, and they wasn't even messing with the Bible. And then they adopted the Bible and started using it to attack people because they weren't a part of their bloodlines. They've always had a superiority complex because they believed in a sky god. That's just Target under somebody named Targetus. Most people don't even know who that is. But I'm gonna finish this up and get a floor back to the man of the hour, whom is AONE.
As told by Herodotus, all Scythians were direct descendants of Hercules, who had 3 sons from a mythical beast whose lower part was snake-like and whose upper.
Hey, I can't make this up. Hercules is a demigod, half man, half human. This is what they're teaching. By definition, a hybrid. Oh, and you can't forget the serpent part. I don't know where it's coming from, but when people you got to understand, listen to what people say, because eventually they're going to tell it on themselves, buddy. If you listen long enough and you watch long enough and you ask fact-finding questions, where did this person come from and where did they come from and where is their origin? Because I'm showing you, the Bible say that these fallen angels came and they gave up all this information, taught people how to fight and do all these things. Did it not say that these European dudes, these Aryans specifically, is in pretty much genetically in everybody's culture, even in India and Asia? They didn't rode horses. They didn't came with swords. They like 6 feet tall. They put in work and they out here running through people. So much so that they didn't found the way to get into Europe. Black people don't fool around in cold areas like that. They didn't went all the way up there.
Part was one of a hermaphrodite. The word hermaphrodite is a combination of the words Hermes and Aphrodite, and has occult interpretations that I've covered in previous videos. The lower serpentine body is similar to the legend of Melusine, which is the goddess used by Starbucks on their logo, which I also covered in a prior episode and will leave a link to in the description. In 2017, another genetic study of the Scythians suggested that the Scythians were related to the Yama culture, also known as the Ochre Grave culture, dating to the Bronze Age around 3300 BC, which derives from its characteristic burial tradition with red ochre. The pits were called Yama. So as you can see, this area is bordering the north of the Caucasus Mountains, where Mount Ararat is located, and where we find the story of Noah and his 3 sons, which of course is part of the Hebrew Bible or Old Testament.
We're going to stop there. You can't make it up. Sometimes the truth is crazier than the lie. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes people don't want to realize sometimes folklore might just be more important than some of this science stuff. These people saying they coming from. Ask yourself, what possess a person to wake up one day and say they're going to start eating humans? Where these statues coming from? Why collectively in everybody's consciousness do they have dragons that fly, that either breathe fire or have some magical property to it? Why are they everywhere in the world? And they not saying, oh, we came up with these practices because we didn't understand what a volcano was. That's not what he's saying. They saying they was born from these things. I'm better than you. I eat humans. Come on, this is on some Silence of the Lamb type stuff. And they're Aryans. They're not black people. They're not African descendants. They're not children of Ham. They're not Semitic. They're Japhetic. They're the son that ended up becoming the large majority of European nations. I'm gonna show one more thing. There is a book. There's a book. Hold on, let me stop sharing my screen because I'm gonna land my plane for the day. It's been 2 hours and 25 minutes. And y'all been so eloquent to watch, and I appreciate it. But I can't do everything in one day. But I feel like I didn't put some stuff in there that I feel like people need to see and need to hear. What I'm doing now is I'm trying to land my plane by hitting the present button. It's hidden in plain sight. This is the stuff that global elite people teach and believe. Excuse me. They teach this and believe this. If they lying about it, they lying about it. But I think it's really interesting, but that it's not Bible. This ain't Bible. This some other type stuff. I'm just trying to find it in my Rolodex of things that I was supposed to upload. I might not be able to get to it at this moment, but here it is. Share. This is the book. Let me make it big for me. What I'm going to do is full screen this. All right, can y'all see this? This is from the book The Dragon Legacy, page 75 by Nicholas D. DeVere. Right? Why did I pick this book? Because these are the same people. This is a book of kings and queens who believe that they come from the bloodline of the dragon. The reason I pointed this out is because when I first started, the scripture that I used, the Bible says, I will put enmity between thy seed and the serpent's seed. Yahweh was talking to Eve, saying that the seed of the humans will be accosted, or there will be a hatred between the serpent seed and the human seed. And as we find out that there are people who have said that they were directly connected descendants, whether it's a myth and they just accept it, or genetically there is some truth to it. Here's what's funny. Let's look at the page. I'm from Baltimore. There's a singing group called Drew Hill. There's a part in West Baltimore by the reservoir and the Baltimore Zoo called Druid Hill, Druid Park Drive, that particular area. Right? They're called Druids. Druids aren't black people. I thought that was very interesting. So when you do the research on what a Druid is, look, this is in the book, Dragon Legacy. Oh, I hit the wrong button. But look, chapter 3, Scythians and Druids. Let's go to it. We'll skip the Takarian Lords for now. We'll go to the page right here at the top on the left-hand side. It says the Druids. The word Druid is said to be Greek in origin, as dries means tree. Some authorities like to think it means oak tree, but no evidence exists to confirm this irrefutably. As we shall see later, Druid is also related to Drew, meaning run. Guess what? The language is in Sanskrit, and to dries meaning a wren, specifically the gold crest, one of the birds most sacred to the Druids. For the present, however, we will concentrate on the Greek version of the word. Druids are associated with groves, and some will insist with oak trees. However, it is feasible to suggest that in light of their Sumerian and Ubaid origins, the Druids as priest kings of the dragon were connected specifically with the tree of life and the tree of knowledge rather than with any mundane temporal shrubbery. Accepting this, we may further suggest that as priests of the preeminent trees of life and knowledge, they may be further identified with those magicians and scholars whose I just was telling you about Transylvania, A1. Transylvanian descendants were the Scythian Aryans or Sumerian Anunnaki, the dragon god kings.
That's crazy that all of this mythology and all this folklore and fairy tale stuff like tie together somehow through all the ancient texts, you know, and werewolves and vampires, you know, may not be so far-fetched.
Here's what's funny. This is something you pointed out today. Listen to this. They were instrumental in establishing chakric systems of Hindu and Buddhist Tantra, Hebrew, Arabic, and Greek Kabbalah, whose magical systems, as we all know, contain a glyph called the Tree of Life. Here's what's funny. When we talk about Hebrew, we talk about Kabbalistic training. When you talk about Arabic, same thing. The Greek Kabbalah, the magical systems of Tantric and Buddhist and Hindu practices. A lot of people like messing with the chakra and they keep saying it's Egyptian, but it's not. It's not. It's not Egyptian. It's Hindu. And Hindu people are Aryan. By all intents and purposes, by their culture, by their genetic haplogroups, and by what they believe. In Sanskrit, whoever came out with the Sanskrit is an Indo-European person. Those particular groups brought I'm gonna say both microcosm and microcosmic in nature. It says, generally speaking, this tree is a system of pathways, both macrocosmic and microcosmic in nature. Remember when Benu, shout out to Benu, he was saying that the word magic, and he gave a definition, was Egyptian. It's not. There's a civilization that is earlier than Egypt called the Indus Valley Civilization. The people there are called the Harappan Society, or the Harappan Civilization on the Indus Valley, which is in India. Those people somehow disappeared from the area, and according to this gentleman, Robert Seifer, and in this book, Nicholas DeVere may point out the same thing, that they traveled and migrated from the area that they were in and ended up in Europe after a few generations, after, I'll say after some time, because I don't know the exact date. But these are the people that follow these magical systems, as we like to call them, the mystery systems. And as it was so eloquently pointed out by Pan, that there was a guy who did some extensive research and gave a talk on the Griffin and how it infiltrated the Black community. See, what happens is Freemasons decided, hey, I'm going to allow the Black people to get the Prince Hall Masonry, and I'm going to allow them to get into the Greek fraternities and sororities, and we're going to indoctrinate them into our magical systems and make it where it's a part of the school system for us. If you want to be a gatekeeper in the Black community, you have to get into some of these fraternities and sororities. But everybody think all this stuff is cute and cozy and is a good way to meet and greet people. Yeah, that's cool. But the reality of it is these things have origins, and they are not Black in origin. They are Indo-European, i.e. specifically on the branch of the Aryan side. And right now, I'm a full circle back. And what I was initially saying was, I believe that fallen angels came and made it with specific groups of people and developed hybrids. Those hybrids created chaos. Those giant bones, those fallen angels have created information that wasn't necessarily for humankind, but we ended up teaching it and we ended up learning it, and society, human society as we know it, was changed on a macro cultural level. Where we are now is that most people don't even know that this information exists. And my last point was the European people, they have their own religion, and it's not Christianity. I'm pulling it up for you right now. I showed this to my boy AONE. I showed it to Pan. I'm going to share my screen if I can find my screen. That's funny. How did I lose my screen? That's not it. I lost my screen. It's cool. The screen that I see where I was sharing from. Let me do it on this one. If it jump, I'm good. It jumped back. Let me. This is called, because at my landing area is. I just want to point this out. That's clear enough.
Yep.
This is the Tuatha Dé Danann. The Tuatha Dé Danann, meaning the folk of the goddess Danu, also known by the earlier name Tuatha Dé. The tribes of the gods are a supernatural race in Irish mythology. Many of them are thought to represent deities of pre-Christian Gaelic Ireland.
That's crazy.
Why is this important? Because these people believe that they came from the gods. The old Irish Tuath, plural, means tribe, people. Depending on context, means god, gods, or goddesses, or more broadly, supernatural being, an object of worship. In the earliest writings, the mythical race are referred to as the Tuatha Dé, tribe of the gods, or tribes of gods. In the Liber Bretonach, their name is translated into Latin as plebes, dorum, deorum, god folk. However, Irish monks also began using the term Tuatha Dé to refer to the Israelites, which is an incorrect term with the meaning people of God. So what you had is Europeans saw this information, knew this information, and then when Christianity popped up, they tried to get in where they fit in and tried to superimpose it where it did not belong. This is Wikipedia. Yes, I know that you can't trust Wikipedia, but there's a source here. John T. Cock, Celtic Culture, Historical Encyclopedia, pages 1693 to 1697. But let's move on, because early Christian writers also refer to them as the Ferde, the Ferde, godmen, or Senella D, gods kindreds. Again, possibly to avoid calling them simply gods. Some of the Tuatha Dé are occasionally called the clan Ilatin, or children of art. And so, which is interesting, because I'm gonna leave off with this, and I'm gonna give the floor over to the man of the hour. The goddess is called Danu. Let's just see what she was about. Is an entity, a hypothesized entity in Irish mythology, whose sole attestation is the genitive in the name of Tuatha Dé Danann, which may mean people of the goddess Danu. Old Irish, so let's just scroll down and see in mythology, Anu, approximate matches Anu. Anu is Mesopotamian, but we're gonna leave that there. The name of the goddess Anu, the mother of the gods, and the name of the goddess mentioned in Irish mythology. So what's interesting to show you, and let me make sure that I'm not just making up stuff. Same person. So syncretism is important to point out, because they used the same name, but somehow it ended up becoming a female god. Here's the same people group, because Mesopotamians, some of these people end up becoming Iranians later through their genetic line. This is earlier. Anu, Akkadian, from Askai, or Anum, originally a Sumerian, was the divine personification of the sky, king of the gods. So I submit to you that fallen angels came under the names of these beings and related to some women, and they went around and they began to populate the earth with their own folklore religions and begin to think that they were better than others. You'll see pyramids. You'll see stories of people like Hercules. You'll see people connecting to gods. Even the Starbucks logo is a part of this culture. That's the crazy thing. The Starbucks logo is a part of this culture. And the Epic of Gilgamesh is based on the Enuma Elish. The Enuma Elish is what we were talking about in the beginning. You know where it ties all the way down to? And I'm done here. Iraq, where one of the first ziggurats in the world come from. And I'm gonna stop here because I'll be talking for a whole another 24 hours, because this is deep, and a lot of people don't realize. Oh, look at this right here. It says, in Merkur and the Lord of Ararata. According to the biblical text, the Bible says that Noah's Ark landed in Mount Ararat. The word Ararata is one of the ways that Mesopotamians called it, as Mount Ararat. In Merkur and the Lord of Ararata. The Lord of Ararata is called Utnapishtim in this particular text. Utnapishtim is directly related and is the same as Noah etymologically. So they all talking about the same stuff. But when you go and look out in the practicality of the world, we're seeing text, we're seeing inscriptions, we're seeing religious deities, all culminating into fallen angels teaching their own variant, and so on and so forth. So the next time you hear from me, not today, but the next time AONE will have me on his show, or on the conspiracy show, I am going to discuss what the divine council is and how this all ties back into the Bible. So today, what I've showed is magic is not an African thing. There is an important thing to discuss, that bloodlines exist. These bloodlines, for some odd reason, tie back to serpents according to their own lore. Today, I specifically chose one particular haplo and genetic lineage, and the Scythian of the Massageti, who end up becoming Irish, English, Scottish later on. These are the people that think that they are gods, and you see this in their folklore. You see this in other religions talking about who these people are. Even the Apostle Paul addresses Scythians, because some of them give their life to Christ and say, you know what, I'm not going to be a part of that no more. But we find out that these people are not African, and they're not even true Middle Easterners when we say Semitic peoples. We found out that Iranians see themselves as Caucasians, but they live in the Middle East. And there I rest and give the floor to AONE.
Hey, you put your presentation down today, Professor Cannon in the building. I'm going to touch on this on the next one, because it seems like everything that you put down today is going to open the door for everything that we're about to do. Syncretism is big. I think you showed a lot of it in places that people didn't expect to see it. You brought a lot of myths to life with this one. This one was a dope first podcast, The Conspiracy Corner. I need everybody to go subscribe on all platforms right now. You can subscribe on Astral Projections 369. This is my personal channel right here. We also have, don't forget about the whole effing show, man. The law firm in the building, DMG holding it down. You know what I'm saying? and DMG's personal channel right here, Paradigm Shift TV 314. Go ahead, tap in, subscribe to that on YouTube. If you have any ideas for a future podcast, don't be scared to hit that email up. The Cash App is on the ticker below, $ Astro Vibe Tribe, and be looking for more of me and my Christian homie right here, man. He putting it down.
Appreciate you. You want to close it out for us?
Yep. Like my saying goes, always be true to you. Nobody can be you better than you. If you running around trying to be somebody else, who gonna be you? We need you out here. Play your role. That's your superpower. There's only one you. With that being said, peace to the family. Love everybody. Have a great rest of the afternoon. We have a face-off today. It's supposed to be me and it's J Fax. You know what I'm saying? This is the semifinals. The winner of this match and Pandemics and Lord Banu's match will face off to see who's going to be the Paradigm Shift TV 314 Battle of the Ideologies champion. And you already know, baby, I'm a shoe-in, With that being said, peace to y'all. Y'all have a great rest of the day. See y'all later. We out.
Peace.